So I want to talk about five things today. Number one, and maybe most important, is a thing called super spreaders. So super spreaders are super important. This is the biggest risk this winter. This is a course that I did with Massachusetts General Hospital. It's really worth a look. It's on this MGH site, which you can give to everybody. And here's what we found. One single individual came from France to a Biogen conference in Boston. By the end of February, the conference ended, people went home. In July, 1/3 of all sequence cases in Massachusetts were from this one individual. By August, there were 92,000 cases with 6,500 deaths. And as of yesterday, when they re-reported, 245,000 cases from one single individual. Super spreading events have been cruise ships, churches, care homes, homeless shelters, colleges, but not schools. And just to show how it works, this is a super spreading event. Here's one individual, spreads to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 individuals, and it's a minimum. Now, just a little bit of science here for those of you who love it. And this is what we call the Hansel and Gretel virus. And that's because the polymerase that it uses to duplicate itself is called the king of errors. It makes an error every week or two. So what does that mean? Every time it makes an error, it gives us a little stamp in a passport. Turin one week, Italy the next week, Warsaw, Nepal, Paris, Barcelona. And with that, we're able to find out where the virus is and where it's gone. Now, if there's nothing else you remember for this entire presentation, this would be the slide. The old 1930s version of spreading a virus like this was a great big old droplet comes out from a cough and it goes kerplop on the floor. You wear a mask, your distance, and everything's okay. That is not true any longer. What we now know is that this incredibly small virus, and it's 0.125 microns, travels in the air and it sits and it stays there in the air. So practically speaking, that means if you had someone come in one of your classrooms with no mask on and they were to breathe for an hour or so and they had COVID, you would have that all through the air through your entire classroom. It will be set up. So even when that person left, you could have someone come in 2 hours later and still get infected. Now, airborne, increasing evidence, viable for at least 3 hours, been able to show with the same test that you have, which is the RT-PCR, that this exists in the air and travels at least 3 meters or 9 feet. The day before yesterday, the Washington Post had a wonderful article, which military-grade cameras showing the risk of coronavirus. And if you take a very close look at one of these pictures, and maybe a little hard to see on the screen, for the right-hand side, it looks like smoke coming out of this woman's ears. Let's not. That's the way the virus would come out from the mask. So important to say, the masks aren't blocking the virus from coming out. They're blocking it from going forward and out, but it's still coming out up the top of your nose and around your ears and going up into the air. So a study just yesterday shows that the coronavirus can travel faster and further than we ever thought. This is an incident in a restaurant in Southern Korea where we showed 2 meters distance that it was spread. Infectivity is a very complex chart, but simply to say that obviously the numbers of droplets and how sick the person is and where they are, all this adds up to your level of risk. So that's one. And any questions at this stage on super spreaders? Because this is the game changer. This is what's changed, that we're now seeing such a spectacular, terrible number of virus.